One of the craziest tech choices that we've seen all formats showed up out of this regional. Make sure you guys smash the loving crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out, well, more regional breakdowns here. So what in the world are we pulling together here? Well, Chimera Deck was the most represented deck in the top cut for this. And let me tell you, man, the Chimera innovations have been amazing. Like from King Tiger Wang Hu to some of these builds actually playing fusion armament now. The evolution for this deck has been crazy. I don't know what took so long for the meta to decide that, you know, they wanted to see this or that this was the way to go, but actually I gotta clap for it. I'm genuinely impressed. Now, we also had one big angry Cash tier duel. Just kidding. Cash is fine. I mean, it's been the mainstay in the meta. It is old reliable. It's the deck you want to play if you think you're going to have a good chance. And a Rise Heart is a Rise Heart at this point in time. We already know why people are playing it. We also have Cat in the Hat Purely doing very purely things. Now, this is where things get interesting. We have one Rika Son Avalon. I have not seen, well, maybe it's just Rika, I don't know. But we have not seen hardly any Rika popping up as of late. Like, the deck just kind of went to sleep. And I think a lot of it's got to do with the rapid shift in the meta, showcasing some of these changes, but okay. We also had Tier Elements, and that's a name I haven't heard in a good couple weeks here. I mean, Tier will always have its local track record of being a successful deck, but the fact that we kind of took a look out of this event, and Tier was sitting at the dinner table, okay, not so exciting. I mean, we also have Dragon Link here. Deck is once again another standard competitor that we do see out here. And we also have Marincess out here as well. I swear Marincess is topping at least one regional a week at this rate, showcasing to us that, hey, you know, the Towers Turbo deck is still something that you do need to be aware of, and it is able to set up a pretty interestingly powerful board at the end there. All right, let's pass on over to those top deck lists. So, our first place list out of this event is actually going to be, hi, King Tiger Wang Hu, yep. Wang Hu is a side deck option now for the Chimera Illusion Good Stuff deck, because you have interactions that actually make this card incredibly good. Also, Walking Talking Floodgate Monster, okay, sign me up. I mean, you need to be aware of this. You need to be aware that maybe things are changing in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, outside of that, look how standard like this deck is. I mean, you throw some Fallen of Albaz in here. We have a Spriggan's Kit in here as well, because I mean, we do play, you know, asset fusions. And I mean, hi, Rinbroom. I mean, this card has been pretty amazing at this point in time. So you've got a lot of things out here that are doing, you know, the things that they need to do in the format, and the Fallen of Albaz strategy here has evolved. I mean, once again, you got the fusion armament down here, so you can get to the actual Chimera, all right? You know, the fact that you get this level of value in a deck like this is so hilarious to me at the end of the day. So good stuff. See this deck evolving at a pretty fast rate. You've got, you know, other builds that are exploring, you know, Aluber and things. You have so many ways to build this. Is this deck budget yet? Next up is our Rika Son Avalon strategy. And once again, you are seeing, that is right, cross-out designators in this bad boy. We want to make sure that, you know, we don't actually get punished by anything that the opponent might be doing. I see that we also have talents in here as well. So you have a pretty strong spread here of answer cards. And we are playing Disc Coliseum with the Regulus here as well. I mean, you do play the Boreas in the main deck. It is a plant. So, you know, when you do enter into the pseudo plant lock, you're like, oh, hey, you know, free extender, go ahead and toggle on through, continue to play the game. Outside of that, a lot of the plant stuff is pretty standard. I mean, you're also going to be able to board in a shifter here if your opponent looks you dead in the face and goes, yeah, I'm going to side in, or, you know, I'm going to shift. You can go ahead and counterplay that with the cross out. Now your opponent's like, oh, well, you know, shucky darn, can't actually do anything about this at the end of the day. So that's something really, really interesting. Next up here is Marincess. And, of course, with the majority of the trends in the meta so far, we have another deck that has found use of Book of Moon. I hate to tell you this, but like, if a Rise Art does show up and you're playing Marincess, you're really not going to have a good time. Like, this is just kind of how it is at this point in time. The fact that you can spot removal any sort of, troublesome card for this is good. You do see the Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chills up here, also getting a lot more value this format. The fact that this has become like the underestimated hand trap of the format, and the fact, you can also just slam this and rip apart your opponent. You're like, oh, hey, now suddenly, time becomes a troublesome issue, or the fact that if they put something large enough on the field, you're able to clean up the game strictly based on this. So that's something that you need to consider right now in terms of hand trap usage, is the Mourner with the Veiler. Both of these are incredibly useful, and their usability rate is actually going up extremely high this metagame. And of course, anti-cast hero cards down here, always going to be a great time, right? You want your opponent to not be able to play the game? Absolutely. Outside of that, yeah, I like what I'm seeing here. Next up here is our Tier Elements Duelist. So, one of's deck is, we always jokingly call this. Of course, we are playing the one Herald here. I mean, getting the ability to drop one of these little friends out of our deck here. And then, congratulations, you now have a level 6 tuner monster on your field, so you can go ahead and make, Baron de Fleur. This has actually been a very nice little addition to the deck. Now, I see that we do have some Shaddoll monsters in here as well. You can essentially make the Winda against your opponent. I mean, this is something pretty standard, I feel like. And we're also playing Tier Elements Grief as well. Only one Scream. I think a few people might be shocked to see that Scream has kind of reduced its numbers. While Scream is still a card that is just a free, blowout at the end of the day, you do want to see it, but you don't want to see it all the time. It is kind of nice to see, the innovations and things and how this deck has changed itself up a lot more over time. So I have really nothing else really to say about this. This looks pretty straightforward. Next up here is more branded Chimera, but this duelist took things to an extreme. They said, you know what? We're going to play one Fallen of Albaz, all right? I'm going to be able to get away with this, and your opponent's going to look at you and they're going to go, what is going on here? Like, how are you this good at the end of the day? And it worked out. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with this, and they're going to be like, well, you should be playing two of this. Also, I mean, to be fair, you are playing the one Gamma in here as well. So if you do straight away slam down the Brain Infusion, your opponent does, try to interrupt you, well, congratulations, you get the free value of this. Same thing down here with the Chimera Fusion. If you have to start with this in order to, get things going, it really just depends. The fact that this deck has so many, reverse engineering ways to get the game going is crazy. And we are citing Visor Shot, because this deck can put things on the field relatively easily, and it's just on summon, either by special or whatever. It's also a Fiend monster. Return all set cards on the field to the hand. Congratulations, you are effectively seeing a free bounce clear off Labyrinth. That's kind of interesting. Next up here we have some Dragon Link. Now, to be honest with you, Dragon Link innovations aren't really, the sauciest out of this format anymore, because so many things have been pretty much figured out. But you have the Book of Eclipses here, so you can do your thing. Make sure you can play the game. We are not playing the Gamma and the Driver with the Red Eyes Meteor Flare. That's something that we were seeing come up as a very, very strong metagame contender, but this build has opted to just not include that package. It does help out for sure, but when you look at like the rest of how this deck has been structured, it kind of feels like extra dead weight at certain points. And that's not exactly something that I feel like you're trying to include to bulk yourself down at the end of the day. So it worked out pretty good. No other real complaints, honestly. Dragon Link, pretty straightforward. And the last list we have for you here is some Cached Hero, and we're just playing one Book of Eclipse this time. A lot of these duelists have been kind of engineering themselves to figure out how many books is the correct answer. They actually opted for the additional Lance over what most people would do, would be the second Book of Eclipse at this stage. So you've got, once again, got a lot of answers here. You can cover your bases relatively easily. I see that we're also playing the Exceed Encore down here as well for the Purely matchup. Nobody really enjoys the Purely matchup anymore. Like, it's such an annoying matchup at the end of the day that you're just going to try to cover your bases as much as you can for this deck. Kashtira does have some problems. So that is our breakdown out here. Special thanks to Solemn Circus for getting all of this info out there. And, well, you guys have a good rest of your day, all right? Peace out, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.